Hey everyone, would you believe me if I told you a woman got divorced after her husband cheated on her? But then her mother-in-law gave her a huge inheritance, only for her to fall victim to a $1.5 million marriage scam? It sounds like a dramatic TV show, right? But this is a real-life story. The life of a 37-year-old woman became a roller coaster of heaven and hell in just 3 years. She was betrayed by her husband and hit rock bottom, then found a new beginning thanks to her mother-in-law's unexpected inheritance. But she was once again dragged into despair by a $1.5 million scam. And in the end she got her revenge. If you listen to this story to the very end, you'll understand why this tale of revenge feels so satisfying and why so many people cheered her on. A true story of betrayal, revenge, and unexpected twists. It all starts now. But before we begin, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really gives me a boost. The protagonist of our story is named Ji-Yoon Kim. Her name has been changed for her privacy, but we'll call her Ji-Yoon. Ji-Yoon was a typical 37-year-old housewife, 12 years into her marriage with a son in elementary school. Her husband was a manager at a mid-sized company, and she was a devoted daughter-in-law who looked after her mother-in-law even though they lived separately. But one day her husband's behavior started to change. "Honey, I'll be working late tonight. I won't be home until late." At first, she thought it was just a normal part of his job. She believed he was working hard for a promotion. But after a month, then 2 months, the late nights continued. And he even started going to work on the weekends. Ji-Yoon felt something was off. But she didn't want to be suspicious of her husband. She'd been with him for 12 years. And she couldn't imagine he would ever do something like that. Then one day, a text message notification popped up on her husband's phone. "Honey, can't we meet today? I miss you so much." In that moment, Ji-Yoon's world came crashing down. When she confronted him, he shamelessly denied it. "She's just a colleague, don't get the wrong idea." But Ji-Yoon knew he was lying. It turned out that the woman was his 26-year-old coworker, 11 years younger than Ji-Yoon. Her husband was completely infatuated with her, and their affair was an open secret at his office. What shocked Ji-Yoon the most was what her husband had said to the other woman. "My wife isn't what she used to be. She's old and boring. She can't even compare to a young and beautiful woman like you." He was talking about the woman who had devoted 12 years of her life to him, who had sacrificed everything to give birth and raise his child. As soon as she heard those words, Ji-Yoon knew she couldn't stay in this marriage any longer. "Let's get a divorce." Ji-Yoon demanded a divorce and, since her husband had already emotionally checked out, he agreed easily. Ji-Yoon got custody of their son, and they decided to split the assets 50-50. But the real problem came next. The other woman contacted Ji-Yoon directly. "I'm sorry, but we're truly in love. It's time for you to find someone new, too." She said she was sorry, but it was really a victory lap. In that moment, Ji-Yoon knew she couldn't just let them get away with it. But she felt helpless, not knowing what to do. Then, an unexpected person showed up. It was her mother-in-law. 1 week after the divorce, her mother-in-law came to see her. "Ji-Yoon, I'm so sorry. I never knew my son would do such a thing." Tears streamed down her face as she apologized. Then, she said something shocking. "Ji-Yoon, I want to give you my inheritance." Ji-Yoon was stunned. "Mother, what are you talking about? I'm not your daughter-in-law anymore." But her mother-in-law's response was even more surprising. "Daughter-in-law? You're already my daughter. You've been more precious to me than my own flesh and blood." There was a hidden story behind the mother-in-law's words. When she was young, she had also suffered greatly from her own husband's infidelity. Her husband had cheated and nearly bankrupted the family by stealing their business funds. At that time, the people who helped the mother-in-law and her young Sonhu were almost left homeless. Weren't her family or friends, but kind neighbors. That's when I realized that a real family isn't about blood. It's about the bond of the heart. The mother-in-law remembered every selfless thing Ji-Yoon had done over the past 12 years. Taking her to the hospital when she was sick, preparing food for her father-in-law's memorial services, and, most importantly, truly loving her son and protecting their family. "My son is such a fool to let a good woman like you go." The mother-in-law's assets were more than Ji-Yoon had imagined. Her husband had no idea she owned 3 properties in Seoul. and had a substantial amount of money in savings. The total was about $1.1 million. Ji-yoon, please use this to start over. And please raise my grandson well. Tears streamed down Ji-yoon's face. She was so touched that her ex-husband's mother cared more about her than he ever had. And just like that, Ji-yoon found unexpected hope in the worst moment of her life. But if everything had gone smoothly, the story would have ended there. The problem was, the news that Ji-yoon had suddenly come into a large inheritance started to spread, and a man who heard the rumors appeared. His name was Min-soo Park, a 42-year-old divorced man. Hello, I'm Min-soo Park. I live in the same apartment complex. When they first met, he seemed like a great guy. He was a gentleman, polite, and most of all, he seemed to truly understand what Ji-yoon was going through. I've been through a divorce myself, so I know how hard this must be for you. Min-soo seemed like the perfect man. He treated her son like his own, comforted Ji-yoon whenever she was struggling, and, most importantly, never once brought up the topic of her money. Ji-yoon, money isn't important to me. I just like you for who you are. After 6 months of dating, Ji-yoon was genuinely happy. The wounds from her divorce seemed to be healing, and her son liked Min-soo, too. So, when he proposed, she didn't hesitate. Ji-yoon, please marry me. I'll make you happy for the rest of your life. But this was all part of Min-soo's plan. After they were married, his true colors began to show. Just a month into their marriage, Min-soo suddenly said, "Honey, I want to start a business. But I need some capital." At first, it was a small amount, about $7,500. Ji-yoon trusted her husband and gave it to him gladly. But a month later, he asked for more. This time, it was about $37,500. "This is the last time. If this succeeds, we'll be set for life." Ji-yoon thought it was a little strange. But she was a newlywed and didn't want to doubt her husband. But the amounts he asked for kept getting bigger. 3 months later, it was $75,000, and 6 months later, it was $225,000. "Honey, I'm sorry. The business is harder than I thought. But it'll be a huge success soon. Just a little more patience." But something else was also strange. Min-soo's past was so vague. When she asked about his ex-wife, his old job, or his family, he would either evade the question or give a vague answer. "The past doesn't matter. Let's just focus on our future together." Then one day, Ji-yoon accidentally found out Min-soo's true identity. While he was out, a police officer came to their house. "Is Min-soo Park here? He needs to be questioned about a fraud case." Ji-yoon's skin crawled. The police officer revealed Min-soo's true identity, and the truth was shocking. He was a professional marriage swindler. He had already used the same method to scam 3 other women. Out of a total of $3.7 million. It seems like this man approached you with a plan. He likely heard that you had inherited a large sum of money. Ji-yoon almost collapsed on the spot. The money she had given Min-soo totaled $1.5 million. Most of the inheritance from her mother-in-law. That night, when Min-soo returned, Ji-yoon confronted him. "What is your real identity?" The police came to the house. Even then, Min-soo was shameless. "What are you talking about? It's a misunderstanding. I never committed fraud." But Ji-yoon wasn't going to be fooled again. "Give me back the $1.5 million right now, or I'll press charges." Then, Min-soo's true face was revealed. "Give it back? Ha, I've already spent it all. So what can I give you? Go ahead and press charges if you want. It's not like you have any evidence." Min-soo was taking advantage of the fact that Ji-yoon had voluntarily given him all the money under the guise of investment, which made it difficult to prove a legal case. And then he said something even more shocking. "You should be grateful. You got to live with a man you never could have met otherwise for a year. $1.5 million is a small price to pay." In that moment, Ji-yoon felt like she was going crazy. The first betrayal was her husband, and the second was Min-soo. He had even stolen her mother-in-law's precious inheritance. Min-soo packed his things and disappeared that night. His phone was off, and his address was fake. Ji-yoon hit rock bottom once again. This time, she felt so broken that she didn't have the strength to get back up. After Min-soo disappeared, Ji-yoon's life became a living hell. What was more painful than losing $1.5 million was the way people looked at her. How could she fall for such an obvious scam? She must have been so lonely to be so careless. She just threw away the money her mother-in-law gave her. Even her ex-husband and the other woman laughed at her. See? I told you she couldn't do anything on her own. Ji-yoon didn't have the courage to leave her house. She was ashamed to face anyone. Most of all, she felt terribly sorry for her mother-in-law. Mother, I'm so sorry. The money you saved your whole life. But her mother-in-law didn't blame her. Ji-yoon, it's okay. We can make more money. I'm just relieved you're safe. Hearing those words only made Ji-yoon feel more guilty. Why'd I have to be so unlucky? Ji-yoon cried alone every night. She pretended to be okay in front of her son. But after he fell asleep, she would sob into her pillow. What did I do wrong? Why do these things keep happening to me? She truly wanted to give up on everything. People's judgment, financial instability, and fear of the future. It was all too much to bear. But she had her son. She had a reason not to give up. And she had her mother-in-law, who still cherished her like a daughter. Ji-yoon, it's time to get up. If you give up, what about my grandson? Hearing those words, Ji-yoon found the strength to carry on. That's right, I can't just stay here and crumble. I have to make the people who scammed me pay. It was the moment she decided to seek revenge. Ji-yoon's revenge was systematic and thorough. First, she hired a lawyer. Her mother-in-law used her last remaining money to help her. This will be a difficult fight, Ji-yoon. But if you don't give up, we can win. Her first target was the mistress. Ji-yoon meticulously gathered evidence. She collected everything that could prove her husband's and the other woman's affair: KakaoTalk messages, hotel entry records, witness testimonies. And she filed a lawsuit against the mistress for damages. The defendant had an affair with the plaintiff's husband, which led to the breakdown of the plaintiff's family. We're demanding $75,000 for emotional damages. The mistress shamelessly denied everything in court. I didn't do anything wrong. There's no order in love. But the evidence was clear. The first court ruling, the defendant must pay the plaintiff $60,000. The mistress broke down in the courtroom. It was a legal acknowledgement that her actions were wrong. Her second target was her ex-husband. Ji-yoon discovered he had hidden assets during their divorce. He had spent a significant amount of money on trips and gifts for the other woman, which he had concealed from the divorce asset division. I am filing for a reconsideration of the asset division. I am demanding an additional division of assets that the defendant concealed. Her ex-husband also gave up. He had to pay Ji-yoon an additional $22,500. And finally, the last target, Min-soo Park. He was the toughest opponent, but Ji-yoon didn't give up. She found his other victims and filed a joint complaint. She even hired a professional private investigator to track his movements. After 6 months, they found him. He was in Jeju Island, targeting another woman. Min-soo Park, you are under arrest. Min-soo was finally brought to justice. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison for fraud, embezzlement, and document forgery. And Ji-yoon recovered $1.1 million in damages. Min-soo had saved up money from his other scams. When Ji-yoon saw Min-soo on his knees, begging for forgiveness in court, she felt it. My revenge is complete. After her revenge was complete, Ji-yoon's life changed completely. With the money she won in court, she regained financial stability and, most importantly, her confidence. Mom, are you okay now? Her son asked. Ji-yoon smiled and replied, yes, I'm really okay now. Her mother-in-law looked at her and said, Ji-yoon, I am so proud of you. I never knew I had such a strong daughter. And there was more unexpected news. Her ex-husband and the other woman broke up. Their love was nothing more than simple lust. After her court loss, the other woman went to another man. And her ex-husband was left alone. Honey, can't we start over? Her ex-husband contacted Ji-yoon. But her answer was firm. No, I've already started a new life. Ji-yoon was a completely different person. The naive and dependent woman she used to be was gone, replaced by a strong, independent woman. She started running a small cafe and built a simple but happy life with her son. And most of all, her relationship with her mother-in-law became even stronger. Ji-yoon, thank you so much. I never knew my remaining years would be so warm because of you. Mother, thank you. I never would have been able to get back up without you. The lesson Ji-yoon learned was clear. People blinded by money and lust will eventually bring themselves down. The mistress is living a chaotic life, jumping from man to man. Minsu has to spend 7 years in jail. And her ex-husband is living in regret and loneliness. Ji-yoon, on the other hand, learned the true meaning of family. A real family is not about blood. It's about the bond of the heart. Her mother-in-law, Ji-yoon, and her son. They transcended blood relations and became a true family. Now, Ji-yoon has even started a new relationship. She's slowly getting to know a kind man who is a regular at her cafe. This time, she's taking it slow, being careful, but also opening her heart. And most importantly, Ji-yoon has become confident in herself. I am strong enough. I can overcome any hardship that comes my way. Everyone, what is the message of this story? That even if you are betrayed, deceived, and broken, it's not the end. If you realize the true meaning of love and family, all the pain can have a purpose. And that bad people will always pay the price for their actions. Ji-yoon's revenge wasn't just revenge. It was a journey of justice, of finding herself, and of discovering what a true family really is. Today, somewhere out there, someone is hurting from a betrayal. I hope this story can be a small source of hope for them. And I hope they remember that if you don't give up, a new beginning is always possible. Because real revenge isn't about destroying the other person. It's about making yourself happier. Thank you for staying with us to the end.